Good morning, Bob. How are you? You are indeed first. You did it. Oh, and Oblivious is second. We are back indeed. Good morning, y'all. How are you? Good to see you guys. Yeah, I'm doing great. Back at the desk. Back at the desk. A little chilly this morning. But other than that, doing good, man. Doing good. Good morning, crew. How are you? Yet again, stream at the perfect time. Well, that's good. I'm glad my schedule's working out with your schedule. 27 degrees in NC. Is that NC? Is NC North Carolina? Yeah, I think we're. Good morning, Artwork Studio. Or the client. I think we're sitting at like a very similar temperature. Let me see. Where bro at? I think we're sitting at a very similar place. 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So you guys are about 10 degrees warmer. Yeah, we had a massive cold front come through on Sunday. Like on Sunday when I woke up, it was 60 degrees, 64 degrees, something like that. And then by 10 o'clock or noon, it had dropped crazy amounts. It's nuts. Yeah, it's cold here, Artwork Studios. It is cold here. Makes it harder to wake up too, when it's cold and your bed's cozy. It's like, no, dude, I'm not leaving this thing. But I did leave the bed, but it makes it harder. Just made a terrible player model for my game. What are you using to make your models? That Celsius first is throwing me off, but considering most of your audience seems to be abroad, makes sense. Yeah, the Celsius first throws me off too. Actually, all of that information just comes from Stream Elements. They're the ones who decide what goes in there, I guess. Blender? Nice. I've never used Blender before. Blender's like the 3D modeling thing, right? Blender. I've never used it before. Yeah, there we go. The free open source 3D creation software. Is it pretty hard? Is it hard to learn this, Artwork Studios, or can you pick it up pretty quick? That's pretty cool. I like this artwork. Pretty cool. Easy to learn, hard to master. Doesn't that sum up just about everything in life, huh? Easy to learn, hard to master. I think I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. That's great. I've never heard that before. I need to. I'm gonna turn these to iSaver mode. There we go. That's better. All right. So here we go. We're gonna try to do the webhook this morning for the Stripe project. So we have to create a webhook endpoint, which a lot of their documentation is kind of old. Nobody does this anymore. Or at least their .NET documentation. Nobody does this anymore. Right, so we're going to need an endpoint secret. That's not too bad. Read the event data, handle the event data, return a 200 response, test your webhook. They have a CLI that we can test with. Use the Stripe CLI to test your webhook locally. Download the CLI, log in with your Stripe account. Alternatively, use a service like Ingrok to make your local endpoint publicly accessible. That's cool. Use the CLI to simulate specific events that test your webhook application logic by sending a post request to your webhook endpoint with mock Stripe event object. Okay, that's very cool. All right, let's install the Stripe CLI really quick. Steven, do you heard the news about us? What's the news? I have not heard the news. Tell me about the news. Blender is one of the best pieces of free software ever. Looks good, runs great, full features, super extensible. So it's free and is it free? Is it open source? Blender free, open, yeah, free open source. So can we see what it's written in? Like if you want to look at the code. Build Blender. Is it built in C? C, C++. What language is Blender written in? Blender is primarily written in C, C++, and Python. Nice. Interesting. So I wonder how they make money. Because you got to imagine that takes a significant amount of effort. I mean, it's kind of like SQLite, right? It's like SQLite's kind of an impressive free open source tool. SQLite is actually, isn't SQLite even more than open source? SQLite is like part of the Commons, isn't it? SQLite Commons. SQLite is open source. Yeah, been dedicated to the public domain. So it's like even more permissive than what normal open source I think would be, right? SQLite's interesting because SQLite, the way they monetize, the people who make SQLite, the way they monetize is they sell their test suite, which as a quality engineer, I fucking love. I fucking love that somebody out there is monetizing their test suite. See, public domain, that was what it was, Bob. Yeah, Bob, you were already ahead of me on that one. That's what it was. Let's see. Yesterday, Nation went inflamed. Nation went inflamed because of the economy situation. Government scared and pulled market down 6%. It has now reversed, I think is what you probably meant, 2%. Well, thank you for that economic update, Arvin. I'm really, as always, as I say every day, I'm really sorry that shit's happening to you. Command Bar, good morning. How are you, Command Bar? Good to see you. There we go. We got striped CLI. SQLite is so cool. Simple.h and .c is enough to get it running. It's super modular. Yeah, SQLite is baller. Artwork Studio SQLite. Instead, use the SQL monthly subscription, $100 per second, and a billion cancel fee. Yeah, you can get pretty far with SQLite. I feel like the only place where SQLite sort of falls down is concurrent writes, right? And I think that's what the folks over at Turbo are trying to solve. But I think that's the biggest place where SQLite kind of falls over. And in most applications you build today, if you're going to have multiple users, or some sort of multi-tenant setup, you're going to want a database that handles concurrent writes relatively easily, right? Without taking a hit on the performance side. But who knows? Maybe Turbo will solve that. Wafflish, are you getting into game development? That's an area I always wanted to explore. I'm not. Game development has been an area where I've always heard so many developers and programmers, that's sort of their entry point into all this world of technology and code, but it's never really interested me at this point. That might change, but right now, no, I'm not doing anything with game development. Bob Knoll, the SQLite Consortium is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Got a little bit of Carolina pride there. Yeah, the whole SQLite story is nuts, right? Like it's like three dudes, or it's like somewhere between 1 and 3 dudes that build it and maintain it and keep it up to date. It's just like this crazy project, right? They have one of them has a PhD, I think from Duke or North Carolina, one of those universities there. Crazy. I feel like the contributions from the East Coast and the Midwest and the South to the technology industry never really get as much hype as the tech contributions that come from Silicon Valley, right? Like, why has there never been a SQLite movie, but there's been an Apple movie, right? There's a story about Uber. Let's make a movie. There's a movie about Uber. Let's make a movie about SQLite. I'd watch that. See you, Artwork Studios. Have a good day. Concurrency is a problem. Yeah. So maybe Turbo will fix that though. Maybe we'll get a SQLite that's built for concurrent writes. Maybe. I bet 90% of total number of businesses don't have requirement capabilities of SQLite instance running off an NVMe SSD. Yeah, most people can probably get pretty far with it. I would agree. Yeah, I would totally agree. You can get around it, but it really gets into spaghetti code fast. Well, nobody wants spaghetti code, right? Good morning, you last. Thanks for being a member, man. Cheers to you. Appreciate you. Koki. Well, Koki, this is the first time I've seen you in my chat. Or maybe that's Koi. It's probably more Koi. Koi, what language outside of web dev you recommend to learn? I'm kind of burnt out and bored. So, Koi, I just got done learning Go. I spent all of November learning Go so I could do Advent of Code, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So let's do Go test CMD 01. So maybe try Go. I mean, Go's sort of kind of web dev related, right? Because you can build web apps in it, build backends and stuff, but it would get you away from web development quite a bit. You'd spend much more time on the back end work learning Go than you would on the front end. The other language you might consider is the other language I might tell you to consider is Rust. I started trying to pick up Rust again last month or the month before last, and I've enjoyed that. So maybe Go, maybe Rust. Again, those things can still be used to do web dev stuff, but that's not really their primary use case, I would say. So maybe those would be interesting ones to explore. Oblivious. In my opinion, game dev is the least rewarding industry ever. Yes, it's nice when things work and keep pulling in more players, but even once that's happening, you discover new shit to deal with. Plus, game devs are underpaid. I don't really know much about the game developer world myself. Um, but from an outsider's perspective, as I listen and hear people talk about that industry, I would 100% agree with you, Oblivious. It seems like a very shitty part of the tech world to work in. Seems like your job is very unstable. You're kind of pushed to meet deadlines constantly. Players are always demanding more for less, right? So it's sort of this constant almost race to the bottom in some ways. It seems like most of the reward accrues towards like the business side of that equation and not towards the technical side. So yeah, I don't think I'd want to work in game development myself. I want a movie on FFmpeg. Ooh, that would be really good too. So okay, have you guys heard of this YouTube channel? Honeypot? Honeypot. Or I guess it's not Honeypot anymore. It's what's it called? Let's see, Python documentary. They renamed Cult Repo. That's the name of it now. Cult Repo. So this YouTube channel used to be called Honeypot. It's now called Cult Repo. They make documentaries about like our favorite tools, right? So we should tag these people. We should like send these people a message. Can I make a post here? We should like send these people a message and be like, hey, we want an FFmpeg doc and we want a SQLite doc. Because they would be the right people to make it for sure. Steven, have you ever scaled SQL-based database to more than one server instance manually yourself? No, I haven't. Most anything I built has been just a single instance of Postgres or a single SQLite data. I mean, yeah, nothing. But again, like nothing I built has ever had a large number of users, right? Most of what I built has just been for me. So I don't have any experience scaling big projects myself. SQLite has a journaled write mode, which speeds it up a lot. I based a project on it, had some good benchmarks, but then I tried RocksDB and it crushes SQLite for high-speed writes. Interesting. Well, I'll have to put RocksDB on the list of things to check out. Movie about Node.js would be pretty wild, though. Yeah, that would be fun. There's a doc on Node.js, which was very interesting. It was super interesting to listen to the Node.js story. I had no idea that Node.js had gotten like acquired at one point and like was owned by a company. Like I didn't know all that backstory about like Ryan Dahl sort of agreeing to sell it and then him going to work for the company and all that. And then there was a moment in time where like Node.js was forked or was gonna be forked. Yeah, the documentary is very good. Christian, I've never seen someone coding in PowerShell window like this before. It looks cool. Yeah, this is NeoVim. So this is a terminal-based editor. So you can pretty much make an almost identical. Not, I won't say identical, but you can recreate a lot of the functionality that you would normally get from VS Code, but you can do it right here in your terminal. So it's pretty baller. You should, if you're interested in it, you should check it out. It's pretty awesome. Koi. Yeah, thanks for the recommendation. My job is killing me. I need to find something new to have fun in programming again. By the way, I see your short randomly pop up in my YouTube. I think you're a cool guy. Well, I think you're a cool guy too, Koi. But yeah, the burnout thing is real. I think there's a lot of engineers right now who are dealing with that. I think there's a struggle at the moment. I think there's a struggle at the moment with the whole AI craze. I think engineers right now are probably the #1 profession that feel pressure from the business. And when I say the business, I mean like the people who are running more on the sales and marketing and operational side of these businesses to really drive productivity. And I think what they're negating, what people are failing to remember is that some of the work that engineers do is fulfilling and rewarding because of the creativity involved in it. And when you kind of strip that away, when you force them just to pound out lines of code with these agentic tools, like you got to remember that has some impact on the underlying human beings doing the work, right? So I feel you, man. Burnout's a real thing. So I hope you find something that lights your fire again. I hope you find it. Oblivious. For more context, I come from being part of growing a startup game dev company that became sort of a juggernaut. Well, that's pretty fucking cool story. We should have a documentary about that, Oblivious, or a story time about that. As a gamer, though, the actual game got out of touch with my values and I split ways, unfortunately. Well, it's cool that you were part of that ride, though, because you probably learned a lot. Bob, no, RocksDB is very low level, not SQL, more like a storage engine to build a database on top of. Oh, interesting. Interesting. RocksDB. Danny, morning all. Morning, Danny. How are you? Good to see you again. Hey, what's up, Gun? Yo, yo, yo. I don't see Horde of members today. Wonder if they come back. I have no idea if they will come back, but that was yesterday's stream was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. End of year, C# stream, perfection. Yes, we were doing C# work today. We're going to try to add a webhook to handle our Stripe events. Bob Knoll, right now you have to be good at your job and you have to be good at getting AI to do your job. Exactly. It's like we've piled on a whole nother set of skill requirements or knowledge requirements onto engineers. It's wild. It's wild. And you know what? I know that's how technology works. I know that technology is always about learning new things and new skills. But I think there is something distinctly different about AI and agentic coding that I think fundamentally changes the nature of the work. Not necessarily in a negative way, but I think a lot of people got into programming and coding because they really enjoyed solving problems and actually spending time in that state of flow. And I'm not sure, maybe you can. I'm not going to say you can't, but maybe it's much more difficult to achieve that same flow state when you're using an agentic AI because you're no longer just purely writing code. You're now constantly prompting, reading, reviewing, prompting, reading, reviewing, you know what I mean? And that's not really optimal in my opinion for achieving some state of flow. Uh, Again, it's just one 32-year-old dad in his basement in Kansas opinion, but that's my thought about it. See you, Arvin. I hope you don't have any more national currency pains, man. See ya. Appreciate you dropping in. Crew. I mean, LLMs can still make it fun if you set your bars high. That's fair. That's fair. I was still very young and was definitely the odd one out and didn't really grow any trust from the seniors, but still had a lot to do with. Well, I mean, again, it's like you got to take the good and leave the bad, right? Some rides are meant to be short and quick and over in a flash, right? But you learn a lot in the process. So it sounds like that's what you experienced there. Still a cool story, though. Maths Cods. Hello, Maths Cods. That's quite a username. Were the S's taken? Is that why you had to go with Z's? Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's necessary to use a Z in place of a S. I just remembered something. I never updated this. Yeah, I never updated this. 1 second. All right, there we go. Excuse me. All right, we're gonna work on the webhook. One sec. All right. So, I'm gonna take this documentation off to the side, just so it's a little bit easier to reference. Okay, first thing we need to do is we need to add our endpoint secret, right? So let's go to our app settings. We need to add a new, I'm gonna call this events webhook secret. And then I'm gonna go up to my Stripe options class, and I'm gonna add a new public string events. I think that's what did I call it? Events webhook secret. Events webhook secret. Yep, that's the right thing. And then now I need to add it to the actual secret. I'm gonna do that off stream though. Eduardo, hello. I'm doing well, Eduardo. Yes, I cannot complain. I am here at my desk with my nice mechanical keyboard. I have my Ember mug with my coffee in it. Chat's here. We've been talking about random things. We've been talking about code things. We've been talking about national currencies becoming inflated. It's been great. Cannot complain. Electromatic, why don't you stream 6x9? I stream vertically mainly just because YouTube really wants people to stream vertically, and they're pushing people's vertical streams. If you stream horizontally on YouTube, you really don't get much algorithmic growth or viewership, and when you stream vertically, you do. So we've just been leaning into that, or I've just been leaning into that. I've told chat though that I'm gonna try to find a way to make a horizontal stream available for people if they want it. It probably won't look much different than what you see now. There'll probably just be some extra stuff on either side of what you see now. But some people just want to have a horizontal format for reasons, and so at some point I probably will try to figure that out. The YouTube did introduce a dual formatting functionality, but it's really bad. It doesn't work, and you lose out on the algorithmic advantages that being in the shorts feed gives you. So that's a big reason. Sean Deb, hello. How are you, Sean? Good to see you. Electromatic, you can parallel stream. So Electromatic, tell me, are you a streamer? Do you stream content? Are you? Because I've had multiple people come into my streams and have this conversation. Everyone talks like they're such an authority on what you can do with a stream, and I feel like people disregard whether or not I've given any thought to this, because I've given a lot of thought to it. I know that you can dual stream. I know there's something called Adium that you can use in OBS to do vertical and dual formats. But to me, it's more complicated than that. It's like, what's the proper layout? What layout of your screen do you prioritize for vertical versus horizontal, right? Especially when you're talking about code, because code is all about context. And so if I'm using a horizontal screen, and my vertical audience can only see a portion of my screen, they're losing a huge amount of context, right? But most of my viewership happens on a vertical screen. But then if I make a horizontal stream, the benefit of a horizontal stream is giving you more screen context. So if I don't do that, if I do a dual format, but I still stream on the same small one section of my desktop display, what's the real benefit of horizontal stream? So it's like this kind of like, I don't know, people keep saying they want it, but then when I do it, no one shows up, and there's this constant tension between which stream gets the priority, vertical or horizontal. So my thought is I'll just charge people for a horizontal stream. That's my thought to address it. Is I'll make one available and then I'll just charge for it. Jewel, I feel washed up as a software engineer. What should I do? Well, I don't think you're probably washed up. Also, thanks for being a member, man. I don't think you're washed up. Yeah, I don't think you're probably far from being washed up. Um, but if you feel like you're tired of being a software engineer and you want to move on, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. You know, I mean, I felt like I was in the middle of something when I went on that dual format rant. Oh, I was trying to update my secret. That's what I was trying to do. But yeah, if you're tired of being a software developer, no one. I mean, it's your life, right? No one says you have to be a software developer for the rest of your life. You could be, you could change careers. I changed careers. I was a food scientist for the first 6 years of my career. Then I tried being a project manager at a construction company, and then I eventually landed a job in technology. So, like you can, you should and you can make your life exactly what you want it, right? Life is too short to not to not try. I have seen a streamer doing it. It was Valorant. Yeah, I see a lot of game streamers do it, and game streaming makes a lot of sense because game streaming is a little bit more straightforward because the context of your screen, it makes sense. If you crop out the edges of your game, your horizontal gameplay, you don't lose a lot of context. In fact, you can bring a lot of that context on screen, right? You can crop out, if you're playing Call of Duty, you can crop out the plates or the health bar and you can put those in the top left or top right corners, right? You can lay out a pretty decent canvas. But when you talk about bringing a programming or coding stream from vertical to horizontal or from horizontal to vertical, to me, there's you lose something going one way or the other. Somebody is gonna sort of get shafted. So I don't know. I told chat I'm gonna explore it. Where that ends up, I don't know. We're gonna have to just kind of experiment. But I do know that the vertical stream will be the priority. The vertical stream is where the most engagement happens. It's where the most chatters come from, and that's what I care the most about is having a group of people I can talk to and engage with while I'm coding and programming. So as long as that continues to be the case, I'll keep prioritizing that. And then to satisfy the people that want a horizontal format, I'll try to put up something that is semi usable. That's my current thinking at the moment. I really want to become a sysadmin. I have been learning a lot, and there's a lot to learn still. Yeah, sysadmin, 100% there is. I mean, you could spend a lifetime, right? Probably learning about Linux system administration. Technology just gets worse every year. There's more tech to learn, more changes to be aware of, more legacy things to keep up to date with, more new things to know about. It just never ends. Jewel, that is a valid point. I forgot I can exercise my own free will when it comes to my career. What should you say is a role I should explore in the tech or adjacent space? So when I was in food, when I was in the food science business, there was kind of this known career trajectory for technical folks where a lot of technical folks would start on the far left of sort of the technical spectrum in the beginning of their career. They would be cutting their teeth doing the most technical work as close to, the engine room, so to speak, right? So they would be doing basic research, or they would be doing product development work in the manufacturing plants on site with the operations teams. But as the career progressed, typically what would happen for people is one of two things. They would either migrate into more of a management role, or more of like a player coach role where they were like a lead technical contributor, which in the software engineering role, I know that's not as much of a thing. Or this is the one that I think is interesting. Or they would move into more of a technical sales role, right? Which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. Which is, you're not really responsible for writing. You wouldn't really be responsible for doing the technical work anymore, but you would know about the technical work, and you'd be able to speak to folks about capabilities and issues, and basically almost be like a consultant for the pre-sales cycle. So like in the software world, this would be like a sales engineer almost. So maybe that's kind of an interesting adjacent place where, I mean, assuming you're okay with talking with other human beings and you don't mind being a little extroverted. But I think that's an interesting space because it allows you to still spend your time sort of around technical things, but you're not directly responsible for them. And you get to help drive the business and grow the business. So maybe a technical sales role or a sales engineer role would be an interesting thing to explore. Gun Heist, vertical stream is OP. It should stay this way. Best way to poop and watch Steven. Well, Gun. I'm glad I'm glad you have your priorities straight. Eduardo, what do you think about the AI bubble? I think the AI bubble is just like every other tech bubble before it. I think there's things about AI that are hype, and I think there are things about AI that are real. And in the moment, it's very difficult to see which is which. And the only thing to do is just to put your head down, do your best to stay up to date with the new stuff, stay close to the work, keep your skills sharp and relevant, and wait to see how things play out on the other side. Right? I think there's a bunch of technology that's going to stick around for a long time and is going to be very useful and leveraged very heavily for the foreseeable future. But I also think there's a bunch of probably vaporware out there, and with that is going to come a lot of economic pain and discomfort, and this is the business cycle, and we're just going to have to deal with it like people have dealt with it the last 10 times it's happened. I get you. I'm stuck with my job. I can't quit because of the horrible job market right now. Stuck, burnt out, horrible feelings. I'm sorry, man. That is a really shitty place to be in, you know? And I wish I had better advice to offer you, you know? My advice is don't quit your job, obviously, because, you need to eat. You need to put a roof over your head. But if you can spend your free time doing things you enjoy, or if you can maybe spend your free time working towards a better job, or a better career, or better professional position, that might be a good use of your free time. That's a tough place to be in, man. There's not really a good answer, you know? Not really a good answer at all. Shiv, what's up, Shiv? How are you? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Jewel, I'm very much okay with that kind of work. I'll make the move and start learning about tech sales roles. Well, I mean, you don't have to. That was like a hard pivot. I mean, you don't have to go there, but I saw that in the food science world. It always seemed like older scientists would eventually move into some sort of technical sales role. So I thought, hey man, maybe there's a trajectory there on the engineering side for that. Gun high, sorry Steven, I had to joke about it. Anyway, you're near 10K subs. Congrats. Hey, I appreciate that. I do really appreciate you and your stream, and I'm sorry for my jokiness. Dude, your jokiness is appreciated. I find it hilarious. I promise, I do not take any of this that serious. This is all for fun. So the jokes are welcome. Hello, Shiv. I think I said hi, Shiv. I don't know if you missed it. Jisoo. Hello, Jisoo. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well, sir. Eduardo. I think in the tech world, you need to be a constant learner. Yes, you do need to be a constant learner in the tech world, but being in constant learner mode, it it can really drive a person, it can really wear a person down, you know? And there are technologies that really end up don't being worth learning in some sense, right? Compared to the amount of time and effort you might have to sink in. So I think part of being a good long-term probably tech person is knowing how to pay attention without getting too invested, right? So you know sort of how to pay attention so that you're aware, but you also know how to filter things out to say, well, that's probably, based on my previous experience and based on pattern recognition, I know like, well, it's probably good to know about that, but will that be around in 5 or 10 years? Maybe not, right? You got to have some ability to make discernments about what you learn. Otherwise, it's just like you're drinking from a fire hose constantly. Exactly, all for fun. Great that you think similar way. I like I do. That's why I love object-oriented programming in Python, or poop for the win. That's probably the funniest acronym in programming at the moment. All right, I gotta find this freaking webhook secret. I don't know where in the Stripe dashboard these things live. Webhook secrets. A webhook endpoint. An event destination. I really should bookmark some of these things. Webhook, Stripe, webhooks. Here we go. It's interesting. Part of the Stripe dashboard doesn't have a dark mode, but part of it does, which is really weird and kind of confusing. When I was looking about sysadmin, I saw a lot of sales teams. What is a sales team? In my perspective, is what it is. What is it? What? Oh, okay. Hold on. When I was looking at about sysadmin, I saw a lot of sales team. What is a sales team? So typically, a sales team in the context of a business, they're the people that are charged with bringing in new business. Like they're the hunters for new business, right? They're constantly out in the market looking for prospects and trying to engage with clients, both new and existing, to try to understand their problems and their use cases and try to paint a picture about how the thing your company does or the tools your company makes or the services your company offers solves their problem, right? So they're almost like the engine room for your revenue as a business. Uh, in in the context that you're asking about, that's what I think about when somebody says, "What is a sales team?" Sales teams are people that keep the lights on in a lot of ways. They're the ones who go out and bring in the business so that the technical folks like us have something to actually do. I mean, one hand washes the other, right? You can't have technical folks without the sales folks. You can't have sales folks without the technical folks. Like you need both groups of people, but without the sales team, we wouldn't have money coming in to pay all the salary, keep the lights on, keep us all employed. All right, I added the secret. I didn't add the secret in the example. I added it in the development file, but I don't want to show that on stream because I'll leak the I'll leak the sensitive bits, which would not be good. Alright, so the way we're going to do this is it looks like we're going to use a stream to read this stuff in. So we're going to do var JSON equals await new stream reader. An object's reference is required for non-static field or property. HTTP context. The method used to create a request delegate returns a task. If this isn't intended, then change cannot implicitly convert from endpoint convention builder to Microsoft ASP not builder route handler. endpoint convention builder. So is that what I want to use here? endpoint convention builder. So is that what the other endpoint should also use? Probably makes sense to have a endpoint convention builder. Ah, thank you. Yes, of course, Eduardo. Always happy to help answer some questions. Destroy. First time in like 6 streams I can comment. Kept telling me subscriber only mode. That's weird. It's supposed to be members only mode, not subscriber. Or no, it's supposed to be subscriber only mode, not members. You have to subscribe, and then you have to be a subscriber for more than 5 minutes to chat in my stream. And the reason for that is I'm not interested in having fly-by-night people from the shorts feed stop in and just leave shitty comments. That's the reason for that. Yo, what's up, 199? Destroyed, but I've been just subscribed for like ever, dude. Huh. That's a YouTube bug then. I am sorry that YouTube's let you down. There's a bug on YouTube mobile. I have to keep tapping the comment button over and over until it lets me in. What a nasty bug. That's a shitty bug. That's so shitty. 199. Trying out the Zed text editor? Well, you'll have to let us know how it was. I tried it for like 2 hours one day and didn't really care for it, you know? So the method use request element to get discards this value. If it isn't intended, then change the return type. Is that because I added... I don't understand what this error means. If the delegate is a route handler, cast it to the delegate so the return value is written to the response. And that's just because I added... Okay, so how do I do that in a minimal API? Minimal API access HTTP context within handler. I think there's something called an HTTP context accessor. So I should be able just to call for it. But why when I call for it? Let's look up this diagnostic warning and see what this is about. I don't understand. I don't understand. I've been vibing with both Zen and Zeditor. Nice. Yeah, I like the Zen browser. Do not return a value delegate provided to APIs that expect request delegate. For example, the following sample returns task string where the string value of the task will be discarded. How to fix a violation. Change the return type to non-generic task, or if the delegate is a route handler, cast it to the delegate so the return value is written to the response. Huh. That's weird. Okay. So interesting. So what if I do Is it just because of that method signature? Is that why? Yeah, it's just because of the signature. But then this is guaranteed. This could be null when you try to access it here. Although it really should never be null when you're accessing in the handler. Alright, so how do I fix this then? How do I fix this warning? Add argument name. No. I've never ran into this error before, and I don't understand why I'm getting it. I want to understand why it's happening. Minimal API cast to request delegate. Oh, this guy hit it too. January 2020. He hit it a year ago. Huh. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. All because I want to access the context. Hey, what's up, Duck Boy? Thanks for being a member, man. How are you doing? Been using Zed for hobby programming as well. Found it easier to set up than, say, VS Code or IntelliJ. Well, that's cool. Ferris Dev 500. How do you stay productive while chatting? I don't. When I stream, productivity comes second to engagement and talking to chat. Because if I really cared about being uber productive, then I wouldn't write code and try to stream. You know, I just write code. Good morning, Neil Thompson. How are you, man? Good to see you. Yeah, so I don't try to worry too much about how much I get done on stream. I just worry that I'm having a good time and having fun, and hopefully chat is too. And if I get some code written during that time, great. If not, it's not a big deal. You know, if I really want to make meaningful progress on a project, then I need to make some dedicated time for that. I find this super fascinating that I've been working with minimal APIs for like 2 years now, and I've never had this issue where I needed to do that. Let's see, GitHub. We're just gonna look at some of my old code. Georgia, Mrs. George. George, thank you for subbing, man. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Let's see. Let's take a look at this guy. Source. I wonder if it's because all my handlers have been defined in line. I wonder if that's why. You know, like I wonder if I move this up, if I say async, let's say static async. Yeah, so if I define this inline, we don't get that warning. So what overload does this use of map post? This uses delegate handler. Huh. So we have to tell it, hey, you're gonna cast this to a delegate handler. Very interesting. So what does this signature, does this use? This uses request delegate. It's funny they don't have a code action for this. If this isn't intended, then change the return type to non-generic task, or if the delegate is a route handler, cast it to delegate so the return value is written to the response. So I have to explicitly do that. I wonder why they don't just do that for me? Why do I need to explicitly do that? In any event, we're moving on. I just really wanted to understand why that was required. Maybe that's a new analyzer or something they added and I didn't have it enabled previously. Or maybe I was just doing it wrong all this time. GPU programming is the most fun for me. I also think it has the most potential future money in it. What is GPU programming? I don't even know what that is. Please explain and enlighten me. Ferris, is this for work? Is this for some work? No, this is just for my own project, Ferris. I'm doing I'm building a Stripe or I'm building a donation site that uses Stripe to collect payments just so I can learn about how to use the Stripe API. So it's not for work. I don't do any work related stuff on stream. I keep those things separate. Separate. DW DWAB maybe? Is how you say your name? DWAB. Bro, I love tech, but tech doesn't love me. What can I do? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a numbers game. There's somebody out there. There's somebody out there in tech that will love you back. You know, it's a numbers game though. Like coding for fun / enjoyment versus coding to earn money / for a job only. Oh, you're talking to the other guy. Sorry. Please teach us how to GPU program for fun and profit. Exactly. Yes. Please teach me how to make lots money with programming, please. If you don't enjoy your work, it's not a good thing. I would probably agree with that, but I would say the majority of people don't enjoy their work. I mean, that's just a lot of people that work in technology are lucky because a lot of the people that work in technology actually do really love technology, but the vast majority of the working world, they do not want to be doing the job they're doing. They do the job that they're doing because they have an economic nut that they need to make, and their job lets them make that nut. You know, the default state of the world is not working a job you're passionately in love with. I got a laptop for college, but it fell down 6 feet because my laptop's bag strap tore off. At least it didn't break and work. Why was your laptop 6 feet in the air when the strap tore? What are you, 12 foot tall? Well, I don't understand. What? $900 into a laptop and 2 days in the bags tear off. That's awful. I'm sorry your laptop broke, but I don't understand why your laptop was 6 feet from the. Your laptop fell from a bag. Excuse me, fell from a bag that was 6 feet up in the air. I don't understand how your laptop got 6 feet up in the air. I have a laptop story though that will top that one. It's not really my story, but it's my wife's story. It's pretty painful. I would like to tell you guys about it. Let's see. For free, please. Yes, for free. I was getting off a public bus. Oh, that sucks, dude. That sucks. That really, really sucks. At least it works. The laptop's exhaust shield broke, but it works. Well, that's good that it works. It didn't break. Excuse me. Alright, so we're going to do this. I love tech as a job because I've done a lot of different, far shittier jobs. Work is work. I mean, yes, exactly. It's not necessarily about finding the job you love. If you can find the job you love, great, right? But if you can find the job that's pays well, has good. Eddie, thank you for subscribing. Eddie, that's a great username. Very simple, straightforward, to the point. I like it. Thank you for subbing. But if you can find work you enjoy, great. But I think the primary goal of work is to provide the life that you want for you and your loved ones, whether that be anyone at all. But I think that's the primary modus operandi for your work, right? Is provide the life you want to live. Hopefully the work conditions are good, the pay's good, the work isn't too difficult, or maybe the work is difficult because you want something that's challenging, right? But at the end of the day, work is a means to an end. It's not the end in of itself, in my opinion. You can't teach somebody to earn money in such a thing. There's far too many disciplines you could go into and make money off, and they take a long time to get good enough to earn money. What? Wait a minute. You came into the chat, Jay Chax, and you said GPU programming is the most fun and it's the easiest way to make money. But now you're saying you can't teach somebody to do it? I don't understand. What is? Can you just define what GPU programming is? What is that? Does it mean like you're writing CUDA? Is that what you mean? T-Wob, are you building an API? Sort of, yeah. I'm building, actually what I'm doing here is I'm building a webhook that's going to respond to Stripe events is what I'm doing at the moment. So this is where we're going to say var Stripe event. Looks like they provide us a handy little utility here called event utility. We have to parse the event. We give it the JSON. And then it looks like we have to grab some sort of signature header. So we have to say var signature header equals Stripe signature. What's a Stripe event? So Stripe is like a payment gateway. It's like a tool that you can use to process payments. And the way their API works is they have kind of this asynchronous event-driven model to the process where when a user hits or when your user submits a payment. So this is the tool or the service that I'm talking about, Stripe. So when your user comes to your site, submits a payment, a lot of stuff happens asynchronously on the Stripe side to process that payment. And so instead of you sitting and waiting for Stripe to return a response on the client, when your customer submits a payment, what you do is you listen on your back end for events that Stripe will send to you about your customer's payments, and then you handle those events on your back end. So that's what I mean when I say Stripe event. GPU programming sounds a lot like downloading RAM. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what. I'm not very familiar with that term of art. GPU programming. I thought programming was just programming, but I guess there's a specific type of programming you do for GPUs. That's why I asked for Jay to explain it to us. Explain it to me like I'm a toddler. Eduardo, why don't you use VS Code? Do you prefer PowerShell? So Eduardo, I like VS Code. I've been a VS Code user for most of my programming life, but recently I switched over to using NeoVim. So this isn't PowerShell. You see PowerShell up here because PowerShell is my shell of choice. But the thing I'm editing text with is an actual text editor. It's just based in the terminal. It's called NeoVim, and it's a fork of the old school Vim. But it brings a lot of extensibility into it so that you can actually make NeoVim behave in a lot of the same ways that you would want kind of a modern text editor to behave. So that's what you're seeing on the screen. So I use both. I use VS Code, I use NeoVim, I use Visual Studio, I use Rider. I just whatever the vibes are calling for that day or whatever the task at hand is, depends kind of what editor I use. Google CUDA or OpenCL. Prepare to have your mind blown. So I've heard of CUDA. I haven't heard of OpenCL, but I've heard of CUDA. J, GPUs are not magic things that just do things without being programmed to do so. Okay. Maybe he just meant CUDA. Okay, so I know about CUDA. Destroy, have my mind blown. So do you mean shader work possibly? Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to get at, what exactly we're doing. No, GPUs don't just do graphics. Destroy, just Google it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna Google it. Okay, okay. Everyone settle down. Actually, let's ask Gemini. Let's not, let's be AI native. We're not gonna Google it. We're gonna ask an LLM. Hold on, let me go update my resume really quick. I am now an AI first developer. I'm just being a wise ass. Let's see. Let's see. If someone showed up in your stream and said that GPU programming was the most fun and profitable form of programming to get into, what would you think they are talking about? No, let's see. GPU make 4K 120 frames per second go burr. GPU make gameplay nice. GPU magic. GPU parallel process. Eduardo still can't learn to use Vim. That's okay. I mean, you don't have to. Nobody needs to learn Vim. Although I've fallen in love with Vim motions. I have Vim motions set up in every editor I use. I love it. General purpose computing on graphics processing units. The massive ecosystem surrounding parallel computing. Okay. What is it? Writing low-level code, usually CUDA or C++, to optimize how matrices are multiplied or how tensors are processed. Shaders. I guess that's what you were thinking, Oblivious, is shader work. High-frequency trading in crypto? I didn't know GPUs had an application there. The tech stack, they are likely using CUDA or WebGPU. I've heard of WebGPU. Rust is becoming very popular in this space for its safety guarantees in complex parallel environments. Interesting. All right, let's ask Gemma. Please build me a GPU programmer roadmap. Put it in a canvas. Be specific and concise on what I should study and what projects I should build, because I want to get that bag. XNA is troll? Is XNA trolling? Really? I thought XJ was being pretty chill. Let's see. GPUs and TPUs are at the forefront of AI. There is crazy money going into AI. Let's see. No, yeah. My college gave me an M365 subscription with latest chat GPT models, but I don't even know what to use it for. Use it for use your access to the AI model. Oh, here we go. It built us an image. Look at that. I love that title. Okay, well, I guess we'll save this when I'm ready to make the big boy money. I'm gonna become a GPU programmer. I'm not trying to make fun of I'm not trying to make fun of Jay. I just had never heard that term before, so I was very confused about what it meant. But it seems to be you're just dealing with you aren't necessarily doing anything super like novel, right? You're still a programmer. You're just focused in a particular area. All right, enough horsing around, guys. Enough joking around. How can a programming YouTube chat not know this? GPU programming is writing kernels for GPUs. What you do inside that kernel is up to you. I guess I had a gap in my knowledge, but I appreciate you enlightening me. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh, they put JavaScript on GPUs too. I think you can use JavaScript code, right? Web GPU. I think you can use JavaScript or TypeScript code to interact with the GPU. The keybinds kill me. Yeah, the it takes a little bit. Vim Motions takes a little bit to get used to, that's for sure. Especially the navigation and the different modes. That to me, that's the most funky thing about Vim Motions. If you haven't used Vim Motions before, you're used to almost all your text editing always being in insert mode, and so this idea that you need to switch in and out of modes, excuse me, feels very foreign, for sure. Hey, MR Group Online, good morning. How are you doing? Eddie, can you suggest how to learn Vim Motion? So, Eddie, the way I did it was pretty. It was pretty. It was brutal. I just woke up one day and decided I'm gonna use NeoVim. I set up NeoVim, and then I started every hour I spent programming was spent in NeoVim using Vim Motions. It was very much like a cold turkey situation where like one day I was using Vim Motions, Eddie, and then the next day I wasn't. Or the next day I wasn't using Vim Motions, and then the next day I was. The one resource that I have to recommend to you is I did play this game called Vim Adventures that tries to gamify learning Vim that I thought was really fun. So let me put that link in the chat if you're interested. Put that here at Eddie. I feel bad for letting Jay down because I didn't know about parallel, because I didn't know about GPU programming. But yeah, this is pretty fun. You get better doing this. This just kind of gets you used to the different key combinations. Again, though, I'm not if we were to create like ranks for Vim Motions or Vim Fu as I call it, my Vim Fu would be like a white belt. I'm still very, very early on in this whole journey. That is why I prefer Nano. That's fair, dude. Yeah, I encourage people to use the tools that they like, Eduardo. Like, whatever tools and languages that you enjoy and you want to use, I say use them. Go for it. Choice Google AI Studio or Gemini. I usually just use Gemini, but if I'm doing like prototyping, if I'm actually building something with the API, then AI Studio is pretty awesome. But for just asking questions and just general purpose use, Gemini, the application, the chat app, is perfectly okay. Real question: was the code for this game written in Vim? I don't know. Was it? I don't know. I don't know who built the game. I just found it online. 109. Any advice on balancing learning? Learn two things. I want to learn deep Linux shit. I think I always, whenever it comes to stuff like this, like where you want to be a master of something or you want to go deep on something, I always think about the academic model. So when you look at academics, you don't have a PhD in Like when someone says I have a PhD in biochemistry, right? It doesn't mean that they are an expert in all topics of biochemistry. What it means is they have some general awareness of biochemistry generally, like they know the foundational stuff, and they have general awareness about different subsets in that area. But they've what it does mean is they've gone deep on one particular topic, right? And so when I think about in especially in technology because there's so much to learn, I think that that type of model makes the most sense for how to direct your learning and your career trajectory is like you don't I think the most value is probably not going to come from being like a jack of all trades, right? It's probably going to be come from knowing like one thing really really deeply and really well. But that level of deep expertise and deep skill requires kind of a long-term commitment to something 199. So it's very to me it's very difficult if you want to go deep on something to be trying to learn multiple things at the same time. So I don't know if I have good advice for how to accomplish that because I'm not 100% certain it is accomplishable. Like I think you sort of have to decide you basically want to be T-shaped and you have to decide at what point you're done going breadth and it's time to go depth. And whenever you go deep on something, you sort of have to put the blinders on and really go deep. I prefer to use Claude. The new Opus is amazing. I've heard good things about Opus. I haven't interacted with Opus 4.5 outside of Copilot. I have access to it in Copilot, so I've been using it a little bit there. But I just, again, I don't do enough with agentic AI or agentic development to really have an opinion, I think. But I love to hear from other people what they think. I think AI, I mean, I personally think writing code with AI can steal a lot of the fun of writing code, so I just don't I don't use it to write the code a lot. Usually I just use it to talk about the code. If you want to know specifically what I'm doing because you have an interest in me specifically, I'm currently writing OpenCL code to decrypt/encrypt data in parallel because the company wants it fast. Well, that's cool. Yeah, man. Let's go. Hopefully they're paying you well to do it too. 199. True, true. I should keep my focus on what I'm doing. I would. That's me. I think you only you can make that determination is like when you've gone wide enough and when it's time to go deep and when you've gone deep enough. Like that's only you can make that determination, but that's how I kind of approach my own learning. Man, we've had some good conversations this morning. I tell you what. We really haven't written much code, but we've had some good conversations. All right, Stripe event equals event utility dot construct event. We need the signature header and we need our secret. So where are we going to get our secret? So our secret is going to come from our options class. So we're going to say from services and we're going to grab I options, Stripe options like this. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to say options.value.events webhook secret. have to check the types. So I think what I'll do right now is I'll just do console.writeLine. Yeah, I'll just write line that receives something, and then we'll return results.ok. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to simulate an event using the stripe CLI. So let's split the pane down. See, Eddie, it feels scary to switch to motions because I understand how poorly and slow I will use it for quite a while. So, Eddie, that was actually that's actually what kept me from using it for quite a long time. Um, let's see. Let's go to. Yeah, that's actually what kept me from using it was I wonder why my OAuth token failed to refresh. Let's go to viewership. Let's see, CD viewer account fetcher. And let's remove the token. Let's rerun this. Huh. There we go. It's back. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll do .NET watch. We'll run the server. And then we're going to try to simulate an event. Yeah, so Eddie, I have to share your concern with the whole Vim motions and the loss of productivity thing. That's actually what kept me, because I've been watching the Primeagen for the last 2 years, work in NeoVim, and I had always thought it looked like fun. But what kept me from trying it for the longest time was that I was just fearful of taking a step back. But maybe you can find a happy medium there, Eddie. Maybe you can use your normal tool chain for work stuff, and then maybe pick up NeoVim or Vim in your free time, so you don't have as much stress about your lack of productivity at work. Assuming that's something you're concerned about, but that's one idea I have. All right, we need to simulate an event now. So this says we do this. Let's see, we're listening on 7141, I think. API key expired API key provided. Oh, I guess I have to log in again. I wonder if they have like an auth command, stripe auth, stripe login. Nice. Oh my goodness. Don't know if I was supposed to show that on screen. Let's see, sign in with Google. Yep, sign in with that. We're gonna use my test account. Continue. I think it's working. Allow Stripe to access. Yeah, allow access. All right. Sorry, I missed. Somebody just subscribed and I missed it. Let me replay that. Too many things this morning. Too many things going on. F39848 forward. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Blood Moon, hello. Good morning. How are you doing? Vim is like Notepad in Windows, and the only question is why. That's a good one. Yeah, I use Notepad quite a bit actually nowadays. I use it for taking like, you know, throwaway notes and capturing a piece of information real quickly. I don't know why I've gotten to that habit. It's just what's convenient. Okay, we're gonna try to run this command again. So you are using the Stripe API version. Oh my goodness, that just put my signing secret up there. No, thank you, sir. I'm gonna have to rotate that. Well, now I know. Although I wonder if that... Let's see. Where's my... Stripe dashboard? Here we go. So... if I fire that up again... Is that the same one from my dashboard? Oh no, that's just local to me. Okay, cool. So it's like they generated one just specifically for me to use? Nice. Okay, so make sure I put the right command in there. 7141. And then I'll have to replace this in my secrets. So I'll say notepad, settings. We'll put that one right here. Save that. Then we'll have to restart my application to reload the configs. Okay, so now we're gonna try to simulate an event. So we'll say Stripe trigger payment intent dot success dot succeeded. See, failed to post to 741 webhook. Oh, I set it up wrong. Whoopsies. We're going to the events endpoint. Now we'll try again. Oh, it's not listening on it. Let's see. How do I trigger Stripe to send it over HTTPS? Stripe trigger HTTPS. Let's see. Stripe CLI trigger event HTTPS. Oh, you just specify the protocol. Okay, easy enough. There we go. Now let's try again. So if everything's wired up properly, we should see a console log down here. I know you guys can't really see the bottom terminal super well, but hey, looky there. It worked. But it said we got a bad request. Why did we get a bad request? But it worked. It responded, so that's good. Now we just need to figure out why the request is bad. I'm guessing it has something to do with something. It's very technical. There's a problem somewhere with something. Okay. Events, webhook, secret. Oh, yep. That's because I put the secret in the wrong place in my... That should fix it. So we'll do Control R. Restart our application. Something broke. What broke and why did it break? My JSON is not properly formatted. Give this a restart. Now we'll trigger an event with Stripe again. Still got a bad request. Huh. I guess we need to see what that bad request is. So let's do console.writeLine. See what that exception is about. All right, this says, okay, Stripe exception. Received event with API version 2025-08-27.bazel, but Stripe.net 50 expects API version 2025-12-15.clover. We recommend that you create a webhook endpoint with this API version. Otherwise, you can disable this exception by passing throw on API version mismatch false to stripe.eventUtility.parseEvent. Man, that's a very... You guys probably can't see this, but look at this error. This is how we should write errors. Also, this song is bothering me. Look at this error. Look how detailed this error is. It's so detailed. Like this is like an error message to tell you exactly what you need to do, right, to fix the issue. So this just means I have a version mismatch, so I need to fix it. So I either need to use the correct version, or they very explicitly tell me, hey, you need to pass this particular option to prevent this from happening. I love that. The nerd in me appreciates good error messages a lot. Yeah, nice air. It is a nice air. Yeah, nice air, bro. Hey, nice air, dude. Hey, what's up, Minister of Defense? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Can you show how you set up the color PowerShell? So I use a tool called Oh My Posh. So let me give them a shout out. There's a gentleman named Jan Dobler, I think is how you say his name. Dobler, maybe. He builds this. So if you're a PowerShell user and you want to kind of have a nice, pretty prompt, Oh My Posh is definitely the way to go. There we go. Oh My Posh.dev. And then if you're curious in my specific configurations, you can find my PowerShell profile here. That next link will be my PowerShell profile. And then if you're curious about my Oh My Posh configuration, that's the next link there for you. Those should be up to date. I need to do a better job at some point of centralizing my setup information so that you guys don't have to go to multiple links to look at that stuff. It's on my to-do list. I have yet to do it though. Oh, I also send you this resource. I like to share this resource with people who are interested in my terminal configuration. Let's see, Scott Hanselman terminal. This video is a little old, but if you want to sit down and really kind of go through how you set up your config for a nice Windows terminal prompt situation, this is a great video for that. So I'll put that in the chat too. Scott Hanselman's also super nice fella. You should go subscribe to his channel. He's got good stuff. Scott Hanselman. I think he's probably the nicest guy on the internet, you know? Or at least that's the reputation that precedes him in a lot of places. Alrighty. How do we fix this? It says you are using Stripe API version 2025-08-27. And the error says that I need to do what? I need to use 2025-12-15.clover. So then how do I, let's see, Stripe CLI specify API version. You can specify the API version for a Stripe CLI request by using the global flags. Okay. So let's do Stripe -- latest. It says unknown. Oh, I have to specify that. So I would say, and then say Stripe version, and then I type 2025-12/15.clover. That says it's an unknown flag. Using Stripe listen, you can use the latest flag to listen for events with the latest API version. However, you currently cannot explicitly specify. Oh, so then let's do -- latest. Yep, that worked. So now what we should be able to do is we should be able to come back here, and this should succeed, hopefully. So let's do Stripe. It worked. It worked. Hell yeah. All right, so we have an endpoint now that can listen to events, and now we just need to handle the events we receive. And I think in this case, what we want to do is when we receive a payment intent succeeded request, we want to stick a record in our database so then we can query those records and display them on our front end. That's ultimately the end state that we want to get to. So we need to set up the database. I do think we should probably have a check here that says if Stripe event.type is not event type dot payment intent succeeded. If it's not that one, then we just return results.ok because we don't really care about it. We're like, yep, great, thank you for sending us that event. Although when I configured my webhook destination, you can specify what events you want sent. So this is more of a just an additional check, right? So if the type is not what we care about, we'll just say, great, thank you for sending that. We don't care. And then here we are going to transform the event data to a domain object, store it in a database. Yeah, store it in the database. That's all we're going to do on our side. So we need to set up a database. I think I'm just going to use SQLite and probably, I guess, Entity Framework's probably the easiest thing since I'm doing stuff on the C# side. Dude, Stripe's developer experience is really nice, right? Like, most of the time when you work with a service that requires webhooks and you're developing locally, it's not that convenient to work with and to test. So that's kudos to Stripe, right? All right, I'm gonna run and get another cup of coffee, but I'll be right back. If you're gonna not hang out and you're gonna leave because there's gonna be an empty chair here for a second, I get it. Thank you for hanging out with me. Otherwise, this might be a good chance for you to stop what you're doing and go get yourself a nice hot beverage. Oops, that was one too many. Minister of Defense, is it tonight going back to exception? Oh, hold on. Is it tough going back to exceptions handling after dealing with value-based error handling in Go? It's not tough, actually. I actually kind of prefer C# because in C# I have the option of using both exceptions or kind of a results pattern for control flow if I really want to. I find that what I've found is in my own applications is that the results pattern works really well for dealing with like business logic at kind of if you're thinking of like your classic in-tier architecture, whenever you're dealing with like services and the business logic that lives in those services, I find that the results pattern is really great for that specific place in a .NET application, because typically business logic has a lot of conditions where we expect things to go wrong and we know what to do when things go wrong. However, when it comes to like deeper in the stack or down in library code that you don't own, I find that using exceptions for control flow is really nice, because if something does occur far down in the stack that I don't know about or didn't have awareness of, I can define some sort of global exception handler up at the top of my application that's just a catch-all. So if anything in my application encounters an unexpected state, right, I can just have that propagated up to the top, but at the top of my application, I still know how to properly return a response to the end user so they aren't left hanging and so that the program doesn't crash. So I think it's nice to be able to blend those two together, and that's sort of where I've ended. Where, let's say, if I'm building a minimal API, I'll typically have a global exception middleware that I put at the very top of the application that converts specific types of exceptions that are generated into proper HTTP response status codes. But then in the services that contain my business logic, I'll actually return results, and I'll use the results in my controller, in my handlers for my controller. So my controller methods will deal with results a lot of times, and my services will return results most of the time. But then I still have that global exception handler in case some code somewhere used somewhere else in my stack or some third-party SDK that I brought in, if I don't use it correctly and didn't know that I wasn't supposed to do that, it's still recoverable. So that's my preferred approach at the moment. I appreciate what Go's done. I appreciate that Go kind of forces everything to be or forces all errors to sort of be treated as values. But I think there's this interesting middle place when you're building applications that you're going to deploy to end users where if you encounter a state that you didn't expect, you don't a lot of times necessarily want to just exit the application. A lot of the times you want to just exit that current scope of execution. You just want to get out of it, right? Just panic up to the top, right? And then return some boilerplate language and then recover and start again. All right, now I'm really gonna go get coffee. That's my little diatribe on results versus or value as error versus exceptions for control flow. Bob Knoll, I'm team error as values. So is it possible to wear two jerseys? Because I'm on both teams. I just think one is better suited in some scenarios than others. I'm team nuance, which is not a very popular team. I'll be right back. I'm back. I'm here. Oh, we have a new Discord member. We have a new Discord member. Let's go. I prefer values. Don't totally hate exceptions. I think that's a valid take. Oblivious. I just accidentally chose the non-binary installation of a browser. I just discovered that compiling browsers can take days. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine being on that team? Yeah, let's kick off another build here. All right, let's take PTO. We'll come back when it's done. I'm definitely not a fan of exceptions. Okay, wow. I didn't realize people didn't like exceptions very much. I think the worst part about exceptions is that it's difficult to know when something throws an exception, right? So like in C# and in JavaScript and TypeScript, it's difficult to know when an error will occur, right? Which is the reason you need a global exception handle that I described, is because you bring in code and you're not really sure which bits of the code throw an exception. Some tell you in the documentation, some don't, right? It's just kind of, and even if they do tell you they throw an exception, it's not always an exhaustive list of what exceptions it throws. I remember years ago when Firefox could no longer be built on 32-bit machines because it was so big. Wow, that's crazy. I've never built a browser from source like that, or compiled a browser from source like that. That doesn't sound like a fun way to deal with a browser. I just want to install the browser and use it. Most browsers are written in C++ and are millions of lines of code. Yep, definitely expecting fast compile times. That was sarcasm. I've done a lot of C interop with Go, so I'm used to C and C++ compile time. So is C and C++ just slow to compile? Is that generally a thing? I've never worked with C or C++, so that's all new to me, man. All right, let's see if we can't get a database set up here. So where do we want to stick that? Maybe we put that in data. I know, classic namespace. So we're going to need some sort of context class. And let's see, I guess we want to use, or should we try to use something that we haven't used before? I've used Entity Framework quite a bit. I've never used, let's see, Entity Framework alternatives. Dapper or in Hibernate. I don't think I've ever used Dapper, but I've heard good things about it. Let's see, Dapper, SQLite. Let's see. Dapper works with any ADO.NET data provider, including Microsoft Data.SQL. Okay, cool. It works with that. Works with the provider. Insert the SQL. Yeah, I don't think I want to write the raw SQL myself. So I guess we're just back to Entity Framework. Let's see. Where's Gemini? Okay, create me a step-by-step. Create me step-by-step instructions for setting up Entity Framework using SQLite in my .NET 10 application. Please be as concise as possible. I know I could Google this, but I'm gonna be AI native. I guess if I was really AI native, I would have the AI agent actually do this. right, let's do here. So we need to say change into the server directory, cd source. Hey, Johan. Hi, just sub you. Oh, well, thank you for subbing, Rohan. I appreciate that, man. How are you doing? Good to see you here. Hope you're having a good morning. Well, it might not be morning for you, so hope you're having a good day. It's morning for me, though. It's morning for me. All right, so we need to do .NET add package. Fun. We need to add the design tool. And then we also need to add the global EF tool, which I believe I already have. Nope, I did not have it, so we added it. Cool. Now let's create our context. We'll go here and we'll say public, or actually let's do internal. Internal class context is db context. I guess classically people call this what do they call this? They would classically call this an app context, I think, right? Like that. And then we can probably turn this into a primary constructor. Cool. Then we have to register it. So we can say go to program CS, and we can say builder.services.add db context. We'll say app context like so. Static types cannot be used as type arguments. It's not static though. Is there something else that has app context as a name? Oh, damn it. Let's do what else? I guess I'm just gonna go back to context because that's kind of annoying. Okay, now why are we still complaining? Oh, it's like my my LSP crashed or something. This SQL? No, this is .NET. This is C#. Doing great. It's Eve for me around 5:51. Oh wow, so you're like on the other side of the world. You're 9 or 11 hours ahead of me. Yeah, this is C#. We're using .NET and React to build this project. We're using React for the spa, and we're using React for the spa, and we're using .NET for the server. That's what we're doing. does this build? So builds. So this must be another LSP thing. I don't know why my LSP kept crashing. Okay, so we have our DB context, and we're just going to inject that straight into the handler. I know, that's crazy, but that's what we're going to do. We'll refactor it afterwards. So we're going to do from services, and we want a DB context, right? Or what do we inject? Let's see. Do I call for the concrete type or do I call for the abstract type? Or I call for the, not the abstract, the derived. So I call for context, is what I call for. Context, like this. And then context is a duplicate. This should be DB context. And then this should be HTTP context. Alright, so now we have a way to store things in our database. However, we didn't actually create the database, so we have to do public. Is it like public override on, I think it's on model creating, right? There's so many overrideable. I'm pretty sure it's on model creating or something like that. Nice, using React. Yeah, I like React. I like React. I like Vue. I think if you made me pick a SPA framework, I would pick Vue. That's the one I've enjoyed working with the most. But I will, I will happily get along to go along. I think it's protected override void on configuring. Yeah, and then we want to do options builder, and we want to do options builder dot use SQLite. But I want this to be something I can pass in. So I want this to be configurable. The location of the database, I want that to be configurable. So I think you normally override db context.configuring or use a db context options builder to create instances of this class. It is not designed to be directly constructed in your application code. See using db context options for more information. Okay. Let's see how we're going to do that. Because I'm guessing that's going to be the entry point where we put our file path. Let's see. Entity framework passing options to context. Okay, on configuring is fine. So how do you pass in the connection string? Starting point for all DB context configuration is DB context options builder. There are 3 ways to get this builder: add DB context, construct it explicitly with new. It's fine. Most DB context subclasses that accept DB context options should use the generic. This ensures the correct options for the specific DB context subtype are resolved from dependency injection. Okay, that's fine. I guess I'm gonna ask Gemini then. Okay, how do I pass in the location of the SQLite file from the app settings.json? Did you ever use Python LimeWire? No, I've never used LimeWire. I've used Python. I've written Python. It's just not my favorite. Okay, I'd like to use the options pattern for this. No, I never did use LimeWire. I missed that whole hubaloo. Okay, alternative. This is what I was thinking about. Accessing options in the context. If you prefer to keep your program CS cleaner, you can inject iOptions database options directly. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so it's not really. There's nothing really fancy about that. It's just what I would normally do. All right, so let's go up here and let's say context options.cs. And we'll copy our stripe options. Going back to your Python question, I like Python. I'm not a big fan of Python. I know how to write Python code, but I kind of avoid doing it. It's just not a language that has ever really stuck with me. But I know for a lot of people, it's their favorite, which I think is great. I think everyone is entitled to have the language and the tool chain that they enjoy most. And so I encourage folks to do that, you know? Life's too short to write a programming language you don't enjoy. The namespace already contains... Oh, crap, I renamed it. Dang it. This should be stripe options. Stripe options setup. I'll go back over here. Okay, so now we should be able to say RN, because these are different namespaces. So I think I should be able to say context options, and that shouldn't break anybody else. Yep, there we go. Context options setup. And then we're just going to have something say called public string. Yep, like that. It's not even though really the connection string, right? I just want to change the path. The connection string can be the let's see. Back to Gemini. What does the connection string look like? Data source equals app.db. So let's do this. Let's do not connection string. Let's do public string. Oh no, that should be public. That's a private const string. Not default. We want data source. Yep. And then we are gonna do public string. This is gonna be database file path. And then our connection string is gonna be this public. Yep, it's gonna be that. Then we will, in our DB context, or our context class, we're going to take a dependency on... I wish I could figure out, like, how do you provide this from app settings, right? It seems like this thing should be where we get the options from, instead of passing in another options class. Am I crazy? Let's see. So, is there any way to populate the existing, oops, man, I can never figure out how to copy stuff in NeoVim. Leader Y, there we go. Is there any way to populate it from app settings? I started coding on a Raspberry Pi. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's very cool. It's cool that Gemini can link to YouTube videos. Let's see. Create a DB context options builder. Oh my god, this quality of this video is so bad. Yeah, it seems wholly unnecessary to need to have two separate options classes. Gunhi's very interesting stream so far. Well, thank you, Gun. Sir, True Python is more for hobbies than coding. Well, I don't know if it's it's more for hobbies. I mean, Dropbox was built with Python. I mean, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of production applications now that are out there being built with Python that serve a lot of users. I just don't. It just never. It's not. My lack of willingness to write Python is not a reflection on Python as a language, like the quality of it. It's just a reflection on like people have preferences and tastes, and some people like object-oriented programming, some people like functional, right? It's like you find the things you like and you gravitate to those things, and that's okay, right? Or at least in my opinion, that's okay. So we're gonna do context options. This just looks dumb to me, and I'm not sure how to fix it. I might have to do a little bit of reading some other time, but this just looks dumb. I have two options classes being passed in here. I know one is going for the underlying DB context, right? And one is for my, I guess, my context. But it still looks funny to me. Still looks funny. So we need to then go to our program.cs, and we need to say builder.services, configure the options like so. And then we're going to need to update our settings. So we're going to say context options. And the only option we need to set here is the database file path, I think. Is the only thing we have to set in there. Is that what I called it? Database file path. Yep. And then I have to set that in my actual development.json file. So let's go over here. And let's do notepad settings.development. Says it can't find that. Oh. Gun, you are wrong with Python. Yeah, I never want people to think that I think Python's like a toy language, because I don't. That's not my opinion of Python. I think Python's a very capable, great programming language. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not like when I think of like, well, let's sit down and build something. That's not the language that I would like to build it with. Bob, I'm writing Python right now. Oh, nice. Very cool. See? Python everywhere. That song was getting to me. So we have database file path. And I think I'm just going to put mine, we'll just do data, so data slash, or I'm just going to put development.db for now. That. Cool. That should work. And then excuse me, not enough coffee this morning. Doing Advent of Code 2015. Nice. So you're still grinding Advent of Code? That's very cool. I got my AOC 2025 solutions down to a total runtime of 400 milliseconds in Python last night. That's crazy, dude. So you've just been optimizing your solutions? I got done with it and I was like, okay, I'm moving on. I think mine take minutes to run. I think my solution for day 12 with the example input takes minutes to run, I think. 10 minutes or something like that to run. Let's see if we can get one of these intents stuck in our database before the end of the stream. So we have our context options. Now we need intent. That's the client secret. And what we want is, I guess what we would like is guess it's still here. Let's just call this a payment, I guess, because we have payment intent, so we'll call this a payment. And so we'll say namespace is grounds for support server payments, and we'll say internal sealed class. I actually don't know if Entity Frameworks works with. We're just gonna do ID. And what is, I think the payment that we get back, so then we have to come into our context, and now we need to add that. So we need to say public db set. Is there an IDB set, or is this just a DB set? Let's see. Public DB set is payment. Let's see. Creates a DB set entity that can be used to query and save instances of payment. Entity Framework Core does not support multiple parallel operations being run on the same DB context instance. This includes both parallel execution of async queries and any explicit current. Okay. A set for the given entity type. So is this the way you do it now? Because this looks different. I think in the past, I had always defined this as a property. Let's see. Entity Framework declare DB set. Defining DB sets. This is kind of old. See, this is how I done it in the past. It's like this, getters and setters. Yeah, I thought there was an IDB set. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do an IDB set with a getter and setter. If you do not wish to expose public setters from DB set or IDB set properties, you can instead create read-only properties and create the set instances yourself. Yes, that's what I want. This is what I want to do. Note, the DB context caches the instance of DB set returned from the set method, so that each of these properties will return the same instance every time it is called. So I want this, but I just want this to be an interface. Did they remove that? IDB set entity framework. Let's see. IDB set was originally intended to allow creation of test doubles. However, this approach has issues in that adding new members to an interface breaks existing code. Therefore, starting with EF6, no new members will be added to this interface, and it is recommended that DB set be used as the base class for test doubles. Okay, so they don't recommend you use that anymore, so I guess I'll stick with this. I'll stick with this. Great. So let's see if we can't stick a record into our database now. So let's go to our events endpoint, and let's say we want a payment intent. Oh man, you have to do a cast like that? No way. Is that really what you have to do? Tell me Copilot's hallucinating. I don't like that at all. Is that what they show in the documentation? Oh, yep, that's exactly what they show in the documentation. I don't like that at all. There's no type safety there. Seems like their SDK should have taken care of deserializing that to a strong type. I don't feel like I should have to cast it. Okay. Whatever. I'm so opinionated. Stripe's over here powering the world's payments, and I'm over here like, no, that's not how you do it. Better cast it to dynamic. Yeah, just throw a dynamic on. Slap a dynamic on it. Let's see. Yes, even now it is not a property just like you did with EF now. Okay, thank you, Gun, for confirming. I hadn't done it in a while. Brother, get some rest. Oh yeah, I've rest. Yeah, I just wake up early to stream. Yeah, I just wake up early to stream. So then we'll say var payment equals new payment, and let's take in our ID. So we can say. Oh, gosh dang, man. Stop. Yeah, I don't want to have to check if it's null. We're just going to confidently assert. And then we're going to do payments add, and then save changes. Name can be simplified. Oh, yep, you're right, name can be simplified. All right, let's see if this actually sticks a record into my database. Also, do I have SQLite installed here? Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll be able to look in the database once we get there. So let's go ahead and restart the application. Jay Distreak. Do you do websites daily? What do you mean by that, Jay Distreak? I usually just stream every morning from 4:15 to 7 o'clock, building something with code. There's usually a lot of talking, and there's a lot of coffee drinking, and there's occasionally writing code. What we're doing right now is we're building a like a buy me a coffee site is what I'm doing right now. So we have 741. Let's make sure that our database got created. So let's do lsr ground server support server bin net 10. Is there a data folder in there or development? Or does it not get created till I run the first query? I don't see my... It must not get created till I run my first query. So we'll go here. We can see we're listening. My Stripe is proxying, so let's trigger a payment intent succeeded. It looks like it handled that. Looks like we returned to 500, so something broke. No such table payments. Oh, whoopsies. I need to do migration stuff, huh? Don't I? So let's do. So there's the database. So yeah, it created it there. Which is the wrong place. It shouldn't create it there. That's the wrong place. So let's shut down this guy real quick. And then let's update my git ignore so I don't accidentally commit that. Let's do star.db. And then we need to go back to our data context. And I have to initiate a migration. I don't remember how to do that. Jay, okay, you're a coder. All right. I was curious if you build random websites for fun or professionally new here. Well, great to have you. I'm glad you're new here. So, professionally, you can creep on my LinkedIn. Professionally, I work as a quality engineer. So you can find my LinkedIn there, linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com if you want to connect with me there. Just want to kind of figure out what this guy's all about. You're welcome to go visit my profile. But professionally, I work as a quality engineer. And then in my free time, I like to make stuff on YouTube. And primarily, the stuff I do on YouTube is centered around C#, TypeScript, web development, and whatever other odd smorgasbord of things, that I'm interested in. I primarily make content for me. I mean, it's a very selfish endeavor I have going here on YouTube. It's very much I make stuff that I'm interested in, and if other people are interested in it, great. But if not, no big deal, Okay. So this is where we do .NET EF. Oh, oops, I am in the wrong directory. We do .NET EF migrations. We add payments model. And then we do .NET EF database update. Wonderful. Well, looky there. Now our database is going to be in the wrong spot, but we're going to live with that for now. Where I really want that to live is I really would rather that be put wherever the application is running, like I want that path to be I want that path to be user definable really to anywhere, right? But if somebody does define it the way I did, which is the way I defined the path in my app settings is like this: data / development.db. If someone actually did this, I want this to refer to where the server project or where that server binary or DLL is actually running. So I'll have to update how I build that connection string a little bit. That can come in a way. We can do that later. We don't have to do that right now. So let's rerun our application and let's try again. We'll try to insert something into the database again. Alright, so we'll do trigger the payment. We got a 200 response. Looks like we got a query. It says insert into payments ID and these values. That looks like the query I would expect. So now we should be able to drop into the data folder. And we should be able to say SQLite 3 development DB. And we should be able to select star from payments. There we go. I mean, there's only one. How do you see the, it's like SQLite view table schema. Schema and then table name. Schema payments. Yeah, just a text. Cool. Very cool. Okay, so we now have a way to persist the IDs, and we need to figure out what other information from those intents we want to persist. I think we want to persist the amount, and then we also want to persist, I don't know what else. Ideally, I'd have the ability for them to provide, like, on the front end. Let's visit our front end. Ideally, on the front end, I think I would like them to be able to do, let's see, localhost 7141. I think on the front end, I'd like them to be able to provide a name on this form, right? So you can do something like have another field here that's like name, and make this required, make this required, make this optional if they want a receipt. And then the name I will store, I guess, in the payments table. Or how would I link up the payment, the succeeded intent? I wonder if I can pass along like metadata with the Stripe. Let's see, Stripe payment intent metadata. Because I'm trying to avoid sticking things into my database unless the intent really succeeds. Stripe's metadata parameter is a key value store used to attach additional structured and internal information to a payment object. This information is not used by Stripe to process the payment and is not visible to customers unless you choose to display it. Okay, so that might be what we want to use. So what we could do is we could say create a payment intent, and in the metadata we could put that name, right? Name, and then whatever they provided us on the form. And then we could store that on our payments table. We could store ID, amount, and name. I think that would be a good. And then we could just query this table and return it back to the front end. I like this plan. How do I exit? People say exiting Vim is hard. How do you exit SQLite? Let's see. Exit SQLite. By the way, DuckDB is nice too. Column-wise, not rows-wise, like SQLite. Worth to check out. Oh, I've never heard of it. Let's see. Quit or exit. I thought it was exit. There we go. I was putting a semicolon at the end. DuckDB. I've never heard of that. DuckDB. DuckDB. So what's the difference between DuckDB versus... DuckDB was designed to be simple to use. It has zero dependency, so it can be installed in seconds and deployed in milliseconds. Let's see. Duck supports multiple file formats, CSV, Parquet, and JSON data lake formats. It also can connect to network and cloud storage. That's cool. Let's see, documentation. Do they have a C#? Why does no one have a C# library anymore? Oh, here it is. There is one. It's just a community one. Oh, and it supports the ADO.NET provider, so that means we can use it in the framework too. Cool. So what's different about it than SQLite? DuckDB versus SQLite. Remember, not many people know how to code. Sir Trigger Roskar, why is that important? I don't understand. What do you mean? Why do I need to remember that? Sir, what is the most you made personally, not money, experience? I don't know what you're asking, Sir Trigger there. Trigger Oscar. I'm not sure what you're asking. Thanks for stopping in, Jay. Sorry I missed your message about you leaving. Bot, SQLite, and DuckDB have local DB files, but SQLite is row-wise. DuckDB is column-wise. What does that mean? Row-wise versus column-wise? I don't understand what that means. See if Gemini can explain this to me. What does row-wise versus column-wise mean in database speak? Only replied to the message before. My apologies. Oh, sorry. I don't know what I don't know what you were talking about. Yeah. Let's see. In a row-wise database, the database for a single record is stored together in one continuous block. Row 1, column A. Row, okay. Best for online transact, okay. Column-wise, how it's stored. Row 1, column A. Row 2, column A. Row 3, best for online analytical processing. If you only need to calculate the average of the price column, the database can skip all other data and only read the price block. This also allows for massive compression because data in a single column is often very similar. Oh, interesting. Okay. So this is how analytical databases are built. I did not know that. I learned something new today. Thank you very much, Gunhighs. I appreciate that. Let's see. Can you give me a very short visual example of the difference in data structure just using markdown tables real quick? This is how we see data in our minds, yes. So this is what we're used to. This is like your classic CSV. So this is row-wise, right? The database writes the complete first row, then the complete second row. Yep. The database writes all IDs together, then all names, then all price. Ah, very interesting. Okay. Huh. This sounds like a rabbit hole I need to go down. I did not know this was a thing. I didn't know that's how those databases differed. Column-wise is much faster with indexing and filtering at the go. Very cool. I had no idea. So that's probably why people have all types of ETL jobs, right? To move data from probably application data is a lot of times structured this way. And so you probably a lot of times need some sort of ETL job to move your application data into some sort of analytical database, right? So you can do big data stuff. And so you probably need to transform this into this sometimes. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. Yeah. Well, Gunhighs, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you enlightening me. I feel like I got smarter today. This stream was a W. We didn't get any kick-ass super chats, but we got something better than money. We got knowledge. That's cool. Okay, I did not know that. Well, that's exciting. I've been enlightened. All right, it's 7:10, and guess what? Today's a work day, which means the stream must end. My time as a YouTuber for today has come to an end, and I must return to my real life. But we did actually get some stuff done today. We got our database set up. We're storing events. The last piece of this puzzle is we just need to get the complete thing working together, right? We need to go from the front end to back end, and then back end catches the success, sticks in the database, and then we return the successful payments to the front end. So that is very cool. W's in chat. I think Gemini just gave the simplest explanation I've seen of row versus column. No, yeah, W indeed, yeah. I think that was a really nice explanation. Yeah. It was dumbed down enough that I could understand it. So that means it was a very simple example. Yeah, W's. All right, how many people are here? How many people we got? 23 folks? Oh, I appreciate every single one of you 23 souls. Thank you for hanging out with me. Bob Knoll, that's all you need. I read so many articles in the past that refuse to boil it down. Yeah, people tend to like to describe complex things with big words because they want to feel smart, you know? Have you ever seen that movie Big Short? Where they're like basically saying like finance people like to describe things in complex terms so that you'll just leave them alone. I think technology people do that sometimes, where they just like to use big, confusing terms so that you'll just leave them to their devices and don't bother them too much. Don't ask too many questions. All right. Well, it's time for me to go head off to work. So let's do our normal wrap up. If you're new here, which I'm guessing the 23 of you that are normally here at the end of the stream are not new here, but if you are new here, you can find me and chat outside of stream in our Discord. I just put the link in the chat. It's discord.stephenfreeborn.com. It's very easy to remember. If you want to come back and hang out on a stream again and you're not sure where to find us or when to find us, more importantly, my schedule is there in the chat as well. I usually stream from 4:15 in the morning to 7 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time. If you're in the United States, I totally get it. It's kind of a difficult window of time, but if you're up and you're drinking your coffee and you see us live, come stop in and say hi. We'd always appreciate familiar faces. And with that, I'll just wish everybody a wonderful Tuesday, and if it's Wednesday for you, an even better Wednesday. And let me give a bye to all the folks in chat real quick. Duck Boy, see you, man. Have a good day. Gun Highs, 4:15 a.m. You beast. No, that's just the only time I could do a 2-hour stream or a 3-hour stream is early in the morning. So if I could fit it in the afternoon or in the evenings, I would. So the day I don't have to work a normal job, my stream will immediately move the schedule to a later time. But that's 20 years into the future, so we'll see what the world looks like in 20 years. Oblivious was a really nice stream. Kept me entertained while I worked on my new OS. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much, Oblivious, for hanging out. Okay, Gun, have a good day, man. Duck, have a good day. Oblivious, have a great day. Bob Knoll, appreciate you hanging out. Have a good day. Who else is here? Bob, Gun, Sir Trigger Oscar, if you're still here, thank you for dropping in and saying hi for the first time. All right, guys. Y'all have a great day. Bye, chat. Bye. See you guys. Appreciate y'all.